tires screamed as Ted Brown yanked the steering wheel hard to the right. The black SUV clipped the curb, bounced, and skidded sideways across the empty loading dock, missing a concrete pillar by inches. Ted's heart hammered so loudly he could barely hear the engine roaring in protest. In the side mirror, headlights surged closer, too fast, too aggressive, no intention of slowing. "Come on! Come on!" Ted muttered, slamming the accelerator. The SUV lurched forward. The other car rammed into his rear bumper with a violent crunch that snapped Ted's head back. Pain exploded through his neck. His hands shook, but he forced them steady. He didn't know who was chasing him yet, only that whoever it was wanted him off the road, and preferably dead. His phone buzzed on the passenger seat. Ted glanced down for half a second. Secretary. No, not now. The pursuing car swerved, trying to pin him against the warehouse wall. Ted felt panic claw at his chest. This wasn't a robbery. This wasn't random. This was personal. He hit the brakes suddenly. The SUV screeched. The other driver overcorrected, slamming into the wall in a burst of sparks and shattered glass. Ted didn't wait to see who climbed out. He floored it and disappeared into the night, breath ragged, pulse out of control. 5 minutes later, Ted sat shaking in a gas station parking lot, forehead pressed against the steering wheel. His suit jacket was torn. Blood trickled from a cut above his eyebrow. The contract, the biggest contract his family business had ever signed, lay folded in his briefcase, now spattered with blood. He finally answered the phone. "Where are you?" the voice demanded. Calm. Too calm. I don't know," Ted said. "Someone just tried to kill me." There was a sharp inhale on the other end. "I told you not to leave alone," his secretary said. "Ted, listen to me very carefully. Do not go home. Do not call Rose yet. Stay where there are cameras. I'm coming." Ted closed his eyes, dread sinking in. "You sound like you expected this." "I was afraid of it," she replied quietly. "And I think I know who did it." Hours earlier, Ted Brown had been the happiest man in the city. The boardroom erupted in applause as Ted signed the final page. His pen hovered for half a second, just long enough for the weight of generations to press down on him. Then he wrote his name in bold, decisive strokes. "That's it," one of the lawyers said, smiling. "Congratulations, Ted. This contract triples your company's valuation overnight." Ted leaned back, stunned. His grandfather had started Brown Logistics with one truck and a borrowed warehouse. Ted had grown it carefully, patiently. And now, after years of negotiations, late nights and sacrifices, the deal was done. He reached for his phone instinctively. Rose Williams answered on the second ring. "Did it happen?" "It happened," Ted said, grinning so hard his cheeks hurt. "It's done." Rose squealed, the sound bright and breathless. "Oh my God, Ted, I knew it. I knew you'd pull it off." "I couldn't have without you," he said. "Dinner tonight. Somewhere nice. We celebrate properly." "I'll be there," Rose said. Then she lowered her voice. "Andy's been asking about you all morning." Ted's smile dimmed just a fraction. "About what?" "The contract. He wanted to know if it was finalized." Ted frowned. "That's odd." Rose sighed. "You know my brother. Always sticking his nose where it doesn't belong." Ted laughed it off, but unease settled in his stomach. Andy Williams had always been intense. Sharp-eyed, quick-tempered, with a smile that never quite reached his eyes. He worked as a consultant on the side, drifting from opportunity to opportunity, never quite sticking the landing. Still, family was family. Ted hung up and turned to his secretary, who stood by the glass wall, tablet tucked against her chest. Claire Miller had been with him for 5 years. Efficient, observant, and fiercely protective of her job, and, increasingly, of Ted himself. "It went through," Ted said. "I know," Claire replied. "Your phone hasn't stopped buzzing." Ted chuckled. "Good problems to have." Claire hesitated. "Andy Williams called twice." Ted blinked. "You told him?" "I told him you were unavailable," she said. "Ted." He didn't sound congratulatory. Ted waved a hand. "Andy's just Andy. Claire didn't look convinced. Later that afternoon, Ted met Rose at a cafe near her office. She rushed into his arms, eyes shining, her happiness genuine and contagious. "I'm so proud of you," she said. "I did it for us," Ted replied, kissing her forehead. Andy arrived 10 minutes later, uninvited. He slid into the chair across from Ted, grin sharp. "So it's official." Ted stiffened. "Rose told you." Andy laughed. "Relax. News travels fast." Rose frowned. "Andy, this is our time." Andy ignored her. "You know," he said to Ted, voice low, "a deal like that shifts a lot of power." Ted met his gaze evenly. "It shifts opportunity." Andy leaned back. "Depends who you ask." The tension hung heavy. Rose cleared her throat, trying to lighten the mood, but Andy's eyes never left Ted. That night, Claire stayed late. She double-checked Ted's schedule, canceled a private meeting Ted didn't remember approving, and flagged a series of unusual access requests tied to Andy's consulting firm. Her instinct screamed. She called Ted as he was leaving the building. "I don't like this. Ted, I've been doing this long enough to know when something's off. Andy has been trying to access financial projections he's not authorized to see." Ted sighed. "Claire, he's my future brother-in-law." "And you're my boss," she replied. "And someone is circling you." Ted hesitated. "You think Andy's dangerous?" "I think money changes people," Claire said, "and desperation makes them reckless." Ted promised to be careful. He shouldn't have left alone. Now, sitting in the gas station parking lot, Ted replayed every moment, every warning he'd brushed aside. Claire arrived 15 minutes later, eyes scanning the lot before she parked. She helped Ted inside, cleaned the cut on his face, and handed him a bottle of water. "Did you see who it was?" she asked. "No," Ted said, "but they knew my route." Claire nodded grimly. "Andy asked about your schedule this morning." Ted's stomach dropped. "He wouldn't," Ted whispered. "Rose would never." "I'm not saying Rose is involved," Claire said gently, "but Andy is spiraling. He's been drowning in debt for months. This contract would have wiped him out." Ted stared at her. "What?" Claire pulled up documents on her tablet. "He bet against your company. Hard." The room felt suddenly very small. Ted's phone buzzed again. Rose's name lit up the screen. He hesitated, then answered. "Rose, where are you?" Rose asked, panic already creeping into her voice. "Andy said you left without telling anyone." Ted swallowed. "Rose, has Andy been with you tonight?" Silence. Then, "He just left," Rose said. "Why?" Ted closed his eyes. "Rose," he said carefully, "I think your brother tried to kill me." The line went dead. Ted didn't sleep that night. By morning, the police were involved quietly, cautiously. Claire insisted on it. Ted insisted on keeping Rose in the dark, for now. But Andy Williams wasn't finished. As dawn broke, Ted received a single text message from an unknown number. "You should have stayed out of my way." Ted stared at the screen, heart sinking. And somewhere across town, Andy smiled, already planning his next move. Ted stared at the text message until the screen dimmed, then lit it again, hoping irrationally that the words would change. They didn't. His chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped a belt around his ribs and pulled. "He confirmed it," Claire said quietly, reading his face before he even spoke. Ted handed her the phone. "That's not a threat. That's a confession." Claire nodded. "It's also bait." Outside the small police substation, morning traffic moved as if nothing had happened. Ted felt disconnected from it all, like he was watching life through thick glass. A detective named Harris finally agreed to see them. Middle-aged, tired eyes, coffee breath. He listened without interrupting as Ted described the chase, the collision, the text message. Claire filled in the financial motive, sliding documents across the desk. Harris leaned back. "You're accusing your fiancé's brother of attempted murder." Ted swallowed. "I'm stating facts." Harris exhaled slowly. "Without eyewitnesses or the other vehicle, it's circumstantial." He texted him, Claire said sharply. After. Harris studied the message. That helps. But it's not enough to arrest him. Not yet. Ted clenched his fists. So what am I supposed to do? Wait until he finishes the job. Harris held up a hand. I can assign patrols near your home and workplace. You'll keep your movements unpredictable. And you'll call me the second anything else happens. Claire's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Outside, Ted sagged against the wall. This is insane. It's escalation, Claire said. Which means he's panicking. Ted laughed bitterly. He should be panicking. He tried to kill me. Claire looked him in the eye. Ted, you need to accept something. Andy isn't bluffing. He's cornered, and cornered people do stupid, violent things. Ted's phone buzzed again. Rose. He couldn't avoid it anymore. Rose, he said softly. Where are you? She demanded. Her voice shook. Andy told me you accused him of something horrible and ran to the police. Ted closed his eyes. Rose, listen to me. I was attacked last night. Someone chased me off the road. That's not what Andy said, she snapped. He said you're paranoid, that the deal made you unstable. Claire muttered under her breath. Rose, Ted said, forcing calm. Did Andy tell you why he was asking about my schedule? He said he wanted to congratulate you, she replied, then hesitated. Ted, why are you asking me this? Because he's in serious trouble, Ted said. And he's trying to drag you with him. Silence stretched between them. Come home, Rose finally said. We need to talk. All of us. No, Ted said immediately. What? I'm not meeting Andy, Ted said. Not until this is sorted. Rose's voice cracked. You think my brother tried to kill you? I think he did, Ted replied. And I think you need to get away from him. Her breathing quickened. You're asking me to choose. I'm asking you to be safe, Ted said. She hung up. Claire placed a hand on Ted's arm. That was hard. It's going to get worse, Ted said. They were both right. By noon, rumors were already spreading. Anonymous posts online questioned Ted's mental state. An article popped up on a local business blog hinting at internal instability at Brown Logistics following the contract. Claire slammed her tablet down. He's trying to discredit you. Ted rubbed his temples. He's attacking my credibility. If I look unstable, anything that happens to me looks self-inflicted. Claire met his eyes. Exactly. That afternoon, Ted's office security flagged an unauthorized access attempt. Someone using a cloned badge. Andy's consulting firm. Ted felt anger surge, hot and sharp. He's getting sloppy. He's getting desperate, Claire corrected. Ted stood abruptly. I'm done hiding. Claire blocked his path. No, that's what he wants. Ted's phone rang again. A blocked number. He answered without speaking. You should have taken the money, Andy's voice said, smooth and venomous. Ted's blood ran cold. You tried to kill me. Andy chuckled. Tried is a strong word. I prefer. Encouraged fate. You're done, Ted said. The police are involved. The police. Andy laughed louder. Ted, by the time they figure anything out, you'll be a footnote. Or a headline. Claire snatched the phone, putting it on speaker. Andy Williams, she said evenly. You're being recorded. The line went dead. Claire stared at the phone, then at Ted. He slipped. Ted nodded. And we caught it. That evening, Ted refused to go home. Claire booked him into a hotel under an alias. 2 plainclothes officers lingered in the lobby. Ted lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, exhaustion crashing over him. His phone buzzed again. A message from Rose. I don't recognize him anymore. Ted typed back slowly. Neither do I. Please get somewhere safe. Minutes passed. Then, I found something. Ted's heart skipped. What? Andy's laptop. He left it open. Ted, there are emails. Messages. He's been planning something. For weeks. Ted sat up. Call me. Rose didn't call. Instead, she sent a photo. A detailed schedule of Ted's movements. Notes. Locations. Times. Ted felt sick. Claire read over his shoulder. That's premeditation. Ted's phone finally rang. Rose was crying. He lied to me, she sobbed. He said he was helping you, protecting the family. Ted, he was betting against you. Against us. Rose, Ted said urgently. Where are you right now? At home, she said. Andy went out. I'm alone. No, Ted said sharply. You need to leave. Now. I can't, she whispered. He'll know. Ted's chest tightened. Rose, listen to me. He's dangerous. I know, she cried. I see it now. There was a sound in the background. A door opening. Rose gasped. Ted, he's back. Get out, Ted said. Rose, get out now. I can't. The line went dead. Ted threw the phone across the room. Claire, he said hoarsely. We need the police. Now. Sirens screamed through the night as Ted paced the hotel room, helpless rage burning through him. He imagined Andy's smile, his calm voice, the way he'd looked at Ted like prey. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, Harris called. We found Rose, the detective said. She's shaken but unharmed. Ted sagged against the wall, relief crashing over him so hard his knees nearly buckled. And Andy? Ted asked. There was a pause. He's gone. Ted closed his eyes. Andy Williams was officially on the run. And Ted knew with bone-deep certainty that this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. And somewhere in the city, Andy packed a bag, burning bridges behind him, already plotting how to finish what he started. Ted sat in the back of the unmarked police car, staring out the window as the city blurred past. Every passing streetlight felt like a countdown. Rose was safe for now, but Andy being gone was worse than him being arrested. When Andy disappeared, he didn't cool off, he calculated. Rose waited at a secure location downtown. When Ted walked in, she stood up so fast her chair scraped loudly against the floor. For a second, they just looked at each other, the distance between them heavier than the room itself. I'm sorry, Rose said, her voice breaking before Ted could speak. I should have listened to you. Ted crossed the room and pulled her into a tight embrace. She trembled against him. He threatened you, Ted said softly. That's not on you. Rose shook her head against his chest. He's my brother. I trusted him. I defended him. Claire stood nearby, giving them space but watching everything with sharp focus. Rose, she said gently, can you tell us exactly what you saw on his laptop? Rose wiped her eyes and nodded. There were spreadsheets, timelines. He tracked Ted's routes, meetings, even restaurants. He knew everything. Ted's jaw tightened. Because I didn't think he was a threat. There's more, Rose said. Emails with someone I don't recognize. A man named Carter. Claire stiffened. Carter Knox. Rose blinked. I don't know the last name, but Carter, yes. Claire exhaled sharply. Ted, that's bad. Carter Knox is a fixer. Corporate sabotage, intimidation, cover-ups. Andy hiring him means he planned for this to go far. Ted felt cold spread through his chest. How far? Claire met his eyes. As far as it needed to. Detective Harris entered the room moments later. We pulled traffic footage from the industrial district, he said. The vehicle that chased you was reported stolen, abandoned and burned less than an hour later. Rose gasped. Burned. Harris nodded. Andy's cleaning his tracks. Ted ran a hand through his hair. So what now? Now, Harris said. We wait for him to make a mistake. Andy Williams didn't think he'd made any. From a rundown motel outside the city, Andy watched the news with a beer in hand. Ted Brown's face flashed across the screen. Successful, composed, protected. Andy's jaw tightened. He thinks he's won, Andy muttered. His phone buzzed. Carter, you rushed it. Andy scoffed and typed back. Andy, he was supposed to die. Carter, and he didn't. That's a problem. Andy stared at the screen, anger rising. Fix it, he whispered. He typed. Andy, what's my exposure? Carter, if Rose talks, you're finished. Andy's grip tightened around the phone. Rose, his sweet, naive sister, always the soft one. Andy's eyes hardened. Andy, then I'll make sure she doesn't. Back at the safe location, Rose sat wrapped in a blanket, staring at the wall. He wouldn't hurt me, she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. Ted knelt in front of her. Rose, look at me. She met his eyes, fear flickering. He already did, Ted said. Maybe not physically, but he used you. Tears streamed down her face. I keep replaying everything, every conversation. He was always asking questions. Smiling. I thought he cared. Claire's voice was firm but kind. Predators don't look like monsters. They look like family. That night, Ted couldn't sleep. Every sound jolted him awake. He sat by the window, watching the empty street below. Contract papers locked in a safe beside him. His phone buzzed at 2:17 a.m. Unknown number. He answered, already knowing. You really should stop answering phones, Andy said lightly. Ted's voice was ice. Turn yourself in. Andy laughed. You always were boring, Ted. You threatened Rose, Ted said. That's unforgivable. Andy's tone darkened. You turned her against me. You did that yourself. A pause. Then, quietly, if I go down, I'm taking everything with me. The line went dead. Ted stood frozen, dread settling deep. The next morning, chaos erupted. Brown Logistics stock dipped suddenly after an anonymous tip alleged financial irregularities. Regulators called. Investors panicked. The media swarmed. Claire slammed her tablet down. This is Carter's work. They're trying to bury you in noise. Ted exhaled slowly. How long can Andy keep this up? Claire met his eyes. Not long. He's hemorrhaging money. Rose watched from the corner, guilt heavy in her expression. I can help, she said suddenly. Ted turned. Rose, no. I know Andy, she said. I know how he thinks. If he's desperate, he'll come for leverage. Claire's eyes narrowed. You're suggesting he'll contact you? Rose nodded. He already has. She held up her phone. A missed call. Andy. Ted's heart pounded. When? An hour ago, Rose said. I didn't answer. Claire exchanged a look with Harris, who had just entered. That might be our opening. Ted shook his head. No, I won't risk her. Rose stepped forward. Ted, he won't stop until he feels in control again. Let me take that away from him. Ted searched her face. Fear was there, but so was resolve. I won't let him hurt anyone else, Rose said. After a long silence, Ted nodded once. Not without protection. Full surveillance. Harris agreed reluctantly. One call. Controlled environment. Rose sat at the table, hands trembling as she dialed Andy back. Everyone listened in. Andy, she said softly when he answered. Why are you doing this? His voice softened instantly. Rosie, you scared me. You threatened me, she said. I warned you, Andy replied. There's a difference. Turn yourself in, Rose said. Please. Andy sighed. Meet me. Just you. I'll explain everything. Ted's fists clenched. Where? Rose asked. Andy named a location. A private storage facility near the river. Claire whispered. Of course. Rose swallowed. I'll come. No, Andy said. Ted stays out of it. Ted leaned toward the mic. I'm not hiding. Andy laughed. You won't be there, Ted. Or Rose walks away. The call ended. Ted slammed his hand on the table. He's using her. Harris nodded grimly. And we'll use that. The plan was risky. Rose would go in wired. Police would surround the area. Ted would be nearby against orders. As night fell, the city felt tense, like it was holding its breath. Andy arrived first, pacing between storage units, nerves finally showing. He checked his watch repeatedly. When Rose stepped out of the car, his face softened. There you are, he said, opening his arms. She didn't hug him. Why? She asked, voice shaking. Why would you do this to us? Andy's smile faded. Because he was going to destroy me. You destroyed yourself, Rose said. Andy's eyes flicked around. Where's Ted? Not here, Rose said. Just me. Andy relaxed slightly, then smirked. Good. Hidden nearby, Ted watched through a monitor, heart pounding. Andy stepped closer to Rose. You should have stayed loyal. Rose's voice hardened. Loyalty doesn't mean enabling evil. Andy's eyes darkened. And in that moment, Ted knew. Andy wasn't leaving that place without blood. Andy stopped a few feet in front of Rose, the flickering security light casting sharp shadows across his face. Up close, she could see it clearly now. The strain around his eyes, the tension in his jaw, the desperation he had hidden for months behind confidence and charm. You don't get it, Andy said quietly. Everything I did was for us. For you, Rose replied, her voice steady despite the fear surging through her. You did this for yourself. Andy scoffed. Ted was never one of us. He walked in, took control, signed one piece of paper, and suddenly he owns everything. He earned it, Rose said. You tried to steal it. Andy's lips twitched. I tried to survive. Hidden in the surveillance van a block away, Ted leaned forward, eyes locked on the monitor. Every instinct in him screamed to run to Rose, to pull her away, to end this himself. Claire stood beside him, arms crossed tight, jaw clenched. Stay focused, she murmured. We need him talking. Rose took a breath. You almost killed Ted. Andy's eyes hardened. Almost doesn't count. The words landed like a slap. Rose's voice cracked. You're my brother. Andy stepped closer. And you're choosing him. I'm choosing what's right, she said. Andy laughed bitterly. You always were weak. Rose flinched, but she didn't step back. No, she said. I was trusting. There's a difference. Andy's phone buzzed. He glanced down, then cursed under his breath. Ted felt his pulse spike. What's happening? Claire's eyes narrowed. Carter. Andy's losing patience. Andy looked back at Rose. We're running out of time. Turn yourself in, Rose said again. I'll stand by you if you do. Andy stared at her, something like regret flickering across his face. Then it vanished. You really believe that? He asked softly. That after all this, there's a version of my life where I walk into a station and come out whole? Rose shook her head. No, but there's one where you don't destroy everyone else. Andy took another step forward. Rose's heart pounded so loudly she was sure he could hear it. Give me the wire, Andy said suddenly. Rose froze. What? You're shaking, Andy said. And you're asking questions like a cop. Ted swore under his breath. Rose swallowed hard. You're imagining things. Andy lunged. Rose screamed as his hand grabbed her jacket, fingers searching. Before he could tear it open, she shoved him back with all her strength. Don't touch me, she shouted. Andy stumbled, rage flashing across his face. You set me up. Sirens erupted instantly, red and blue lights flooding the storage facility. Andy's eyes widened. No, he hissed. No, no, no. He spun and ran. Ted burst from the van before anyone could stop him. Ted, Claire shouted. But Ted was already sprinting toward the storage units, adrenaline drowning out everything else. Andy vaulted over a low fence, disappearing between rows of metal doors. Police flooded the area shouting commands. Andy ignored them, ducking into a unit and slamming the door behind him. Ted reached the entrance seconds later. Don't go in, Harris yelled. Ted didn't listen. Inside the dimly lit unit, Andy backed toward a stack of crates, chest heaving. He pulled something from his jacket. Ted froze. Drop it, Ted said, voice shaking. Andy laughed hysterically, a gun clenched in his hand. You really don't know when to quit. Andy, Ted said, raising his hands. This is over. It was over the moment you signed that contract, Andy snapped. You just didn't know it yet. Police voices echoed outside. Andy's eyes darted toward the exit, calculating. Rose appeared in the doorway, breathless. Andy, stop. Andy turned, shock flashing across his face. I told you to stay back. You're going to ruin your life? Rose said, tears streaming down her face. Please. Andy's grip tightened on the gun. His hand trembled. Ted stepped forward slowly. "Look at her," he said. "This isn't worth it." For a moment, it seemed like Andy might actually listen. Then his phone buzzed again. "Carter." Andy glanced down, fury reigniting. "You did this?" he snarled at Ted. "You took everything." Andy raised the gun. The shot rang out. Rose screamed. Ted felt a sharp pain tear through his shoulder as the force knocked him backward. He hit the ground hard, vision blurring. "Ted!" Rose cried, rushing to him. Police stormed the unit in a blur of motion. Andy barely had time to react before he was tackled to the floor, gun skidding across the concrete. "Hands behind your head!" Harris shouted. Andy fought wildly, screaming, "I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to." The cuffs snapped shut. Silence followed, broken only by Rose's sobs as she knelt beside Ted, pressing her hands to his bleeding shoulder. "Stay with me," she whispered. Ted forced a smile through the pain. "Told you I wasn't hiding." Paramedics arrived within minutes. As they lifted Ted onto the stretcher, he caught sight of Andy being dragged out, face twisted with rage and disbelief. Their eyes met for a brief second. Andy looked away. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and exhaustion. Ted lay in bed, shoulder bandaged, the pain dull but constant. Claire sat nearby, arms folded, eyes red from a night without sleep. "You scared the hell out of me," she said quietly. Ted winced. "Occupational hazard." Rose entered slowly, her face pale, eyes swollen. She stopped just inside the doorway. "I should have listened sooner," she said. Ted reached out his uninjured hand. "You listened when it mattered." She took his hand, squeezing it tightly. "He confessed," she said softly. "They recorded everything." Claire nodded. "Carter too." Andy rolled on him the second he realized it was over. Ted closed his eyes, relief washing over him. Weeks later, the courtroom was packed. Andy Williams sat at the defense table, suit rumpled, eyes hollow. The confident man Ted had once tolerated was gone, replaced by someone small and defeated. Ted testified calmly, clearly. Rose followed, voice trembling but resolute. Claire presented documents that mapped out the conspiracy in meticulous detail. When the verdict came back guilty on all counts, attempted murder, conspiracy, financial fraud, Andy slumped in his chair. Rose didn't look at him as he was led away. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Ted shielded his eyes, exhausted. Rose stood beside him, shoulders squared. "I'm done protecting him," she said quietly. "I'm starting over." Ted nodded. "So am I." Months passed. Brown Logistics thrived, stronger than ever. Ted healed. The scar on his shoulder, a permanent reminder of how close he'd come to losing everything. Claire received a promotion she'd long deserved. Ted trusted her more than ever. One evening, Ted and Rose stood on a quiet balcony overlooking the city. "Do you ever think about him?" Ted asked. Rose shook her head. "I think about who I became because of him, and who I won't be again." Ted slipped an arm around her. "That's justice." Rose leaned into him, finally at peace. If you made it this far, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Urban Folks TV, and leave your comment below, because stories like this remind us that betrayal can come from anywhere, but justice always finds its way home.